Hello, Guyana, and welcome to Facing the Nation. I am Malika Ramsey. Thank you very much for joining me this week. And of course, well, it's the 11th. Yes, I'm trying to keep up with the days because, of course, you know, Christmas is coming and we have a lot to do. So sometimes we get confused. It is the 11th day of December 2015, and so I officially say to you, season's greetings to you and yours. I trust that you're having a wonderful one so far. Everyone knows that I probably get overexcited about Christmas. Christmas is certainly my favorite time of year, like so many other persons. First off, before I get into today's program, let me also apologize to you for not being here last week. I know what you got last week is the first time you've gotten a rebroadcast of Facing the Nation. But of course, as some of you may very well know, apart from doing Facing the Nation, apart from what I do, I'm also an international relations student at the University of Ghana. So my absence was as a result of exams, and I know you want me to do well at those exams, so you will certainly forgive me for not being here last week. Today's program is designed to deal with two areas. First of all, we're dealing with what's happening with the city as we move closer to Christmas. You know, Georgetown becomes for want of a better term, a total mess whenever the holiday seasons come around, especially at Christmas. So we're focusing on that. And to talk about that with me is the Public Relations Officer for the Mayor and City Council, Georgetown City Council, Ms. Debra Lewis. But before we talk with her, also coming up a little later on in the program, who I see is already here, is Reverend Raphael Massiah. As you know, he is the Senior Pastor for the Assemblies of God Church. So he's here. I thought it fit to have him on too because we're talking about a season where we should be celebrating the birth of Christ. It has become so commercialized that sometimes we forget the true meaning of Christ. So I thought it fit to speak with Raphael Massiah today. He's going to tell you about that. And he is also going to talk about the fact that we have a terrible situation in society where there seems to be a breakdown in morals and values. So we'll talk about what the church will do to help bring back the morals and ethics and so on, and to strengthen the family. So definitely we'll hear all about that coming up from Reverend Raphael Massiah later on. But for now, let's get to our conversation with Debra Lewis. Welcome to Facing the Nation. It's your first time being here, and it's my pleasure to have you.
Thank you, and it's a pleasure being here.
All right, wonderful. Let's talk about it's just a bit of an update because we're seeing it in the news. We're seeing it with our naked eyes as we go around. The cleanup campaign continues. Let's talk about the Georgetown City Council's role, of course, and give an update, especially as we move toward we're in already the Christmas season.
Well, over the past months, the Main City Council would have embarked on a program to restore the state of Georgetown. And let us go back like about 6 months ago, what the alleyways look like, what the drains look like, what the streets looks like. And so we can see that vast change, and that has all been the initiative of the Mayor City Council. We've been working assiduously to clean our drains, to restore the verges and our parapets. And of course, we would have had citizens' involvement. The citizens, of course, play a very big role in this whole initiative. Of course, in society, we must have the citizens, we must have private businesses, and also the municipality coming together to forge that relationship so that we can restore the pristine state of the capital city.
Do you find that our citizens have come on board the way you wanted them to come on board and are cooperating in a way in which you want them to cooperate with us?
What can I say? In some cases, yes. In some communities, of course, yes. Others are still, at this point in time, trying to get on board. And you know, change is not something that persons would easily embrace in any society. And so the change is gradual, but for sure we know citizens are coming on board with the municipality.
Okay, let's talk specifically about the Merriman's Mall. Everybody, we're lighting up when we go in that area, and I noticed the Christmas tree only yesterday. I don't know how long it has been there, but let's talk about the work on the mall.
Like a month ago, the council have decided to reclaim all the playgrounds and parks in the city of Georgetown. For you know for sure, many of the playgrounds and parks would have been in ruins, would have been desolate. And so the Georgetown municipality decided that, look, we're going to take back our play parks, not only taking them back, but restoring them in such a manner that the citizens of Georgetown can benefit in a very good manner. And it's not only Merriman's Mall. If you go to the south of Georgetown, you will find the Roxanne Burnham Gardens Play Park, and that area is also being restored. And of course, it's free of cost. Families can go out with their children on whatever day. It's always open, and they can utilize the facilities there offered free.
It is going to take some time to, in a sense, rehabilitate the minds of our citizens. We've had problems where people clean, other people make a mess. You put down benches and whatever else you need to put down there, play equipment and so on, and people destroy them. What measures are you going to put in place, whether it be via public announcement or else? What measures are you going to put in place to try to get people to not stay in that state of, for want of a better word, destruction?
For sure, we have 24 hours security on the Merriman's Mall, and the security there would not only be security, but they will watch out for persons who may want to destroy what the council would have done in terms of restoration of the Merriman's Mall. As I said before, some people clean and some people dirty. Change in society is not easily embraced by all. And so we hope gradually we have educational programs, right, in the wards. We have educational programs in the schools. And so we hope and we trust that even as we go into the wards and even as we go into the schools, the students, the parents, the teachers, we will have everyone on board gradually. And we cannot just give up. We have to continue to work with the people, and so that they will embrace the vision of the municipality to make Georgetown the greenest, cleanest city in the Caribbean. I mean, it's not an easy task, but we just can't stop. We have to continue. We must move on.
Ballpark figure, what is it costing council? Not only Merriman's Mall, but all our playgrounds and play parks and so on.
It is costing us quite a sum. I can say it's millions, but we have to invest in the lives of our people, because for too long we would have experienced desolation. And so this investment, right, it's long term. It's not only for the benefit of this generation, but we hope that the other generation, the generations to come, it will transcend and it will pass on.
Okay, all right. You were very passionate a little while ago when you talked about making, and this is basically echoing some of the sentiments of government, I know, making Georgetown green, making Guyana a green nation again. We had the Green Expo. We saw the Green Expo. Let's talk about that. Are you satisfied with what came out of the Green Expo? And are we going to see another one anytime soon, sometime next year? And on what level? If it's going to be bigger, if it's going to be better, let's talk about that.
I mean, a program of this magnitude, it is the first for the Mayor and City Council. And I would want to say that we were successful because it wasn't easy to get corporate Guyana on board to be a part of what the vision of the municipality. And so I would want to say that we were successful in that area. We got a number of corporate sponsors who came on board. The message is out, and it will take time, but we will not give up. Next year we will have another Green Expo, but it's going to be bigger. We want for the next expo to involve our Caribbean neighbors. We want to do that. And so we've already started our planning. We would have reviewed, looked at our advantages, we looked at the disadvantages, we looked at the way we would have benefited, and we've taken all those things into consideration as it relates to evaluation of what would have happened. And so we know for the next time around what we should and what we shouldn't do. But for sure, this wouldn't be the first and the last Green Expo and conference in Guyana. The nation will see more Green Expos and Green Conferences in the near future.
One of the features that came out of that Green Expo that was held at the parade ground area, one of the features that came out of that was the fact that we saw people serving food in biodegradable containers. Now, what sort of role is the council playing in terms of helping to educate our citizens on the fact that there is going to be a ban on styrofoam and the need to get on board with the biodegradable material?
For sure, as I mentioned before, we have a health education department, and we would have worked in schools, we have worked in communities, and so we're going to use that same methodology to reach persons in the community, and so that they can also embrace the change.
All right, let's move on to things like streets and parking. You know, those are big issues. Before we even get to parking, we heard that they're going to be the renaming of some streets. There were proposals and discussions and consultations and so on. There was even a big report about the botanical gardens being renamed, but then we saw that being pulled back, that being corrected. Let's talk about the process and the procedure of renaming, possibly renaming some of our streets and other significant areas like the botanical gardens itself.
As it relates to renaming, Council has not taken a firm position on that at this present moment, and so Council needs to deliberate more and give it more thought, because we know for sure some of the streets would have had specific historical significance in Guyana. And so we have to be very careful, because we don't want to lose our history, and we have people who come and don't know certain specific areas like Michael Street, right? And so the council at this point in time, we are reconsidering the whole renaming exercise.
Oh, okay, I'm going to dig here.
Yeah,
reconsidering as in meaning that there will be further discussion sometime next year, or there is a complete pullback?
There will be further discussions next year as to whether we should proceed. We know for sure some streets don't have names, and probably the council may go in that direction as to naming streets that don't have names. Right? But those that with very significant historic memory, we may not touch on those.
All right, still on streets, but not in the renaming. In the sense of traffic, a few months, maybe 2 months ago or so, there were areas in the city, even not too far from where we are currently, we saw council implementing this measure whereby persons who were not obeying for example, the diagonal parking rule, there was a lock on the wheels of their vehicles. How have we benefited, and will we see more of that in the future? And then I know some persons were criticizing the move because the concern was that you did not tell the public that this is what you will be doing. So let's talk about that.
It wasn't specifically done by the municipality.
Okay.
It was more central government.
Central government.
And the police.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So the municipality played no role. All right. What is the municipality going to be doing now? As it relates to bringing relief to the city in terms of parking and so on.
If you would have observed the bus park around the Starbuck area, you started to do some works as it relates to resurfacing and putting the pails, and so that you can have some measure of order. Like we know for sure that Joshua is congested, and if you would have had like 100 vehicles like 5 years ago, that has been more than triple now. And so we're looking at specific areas to designate areas of parking. And that would go to full council in the new year. That would be deliberated upon, of course, looking at the particular lots and how it fits exactly into the whole arrangements in the city.
So there are areas available that can be rehabilitated or brought up to standard.
But as you know, council decides. Council, it must go to council. It's not a unilateral decision, and so those things, like those, must go to the full council for decision.
All right. Before I have to begin to wrap up with you, ma'am, one of the problems we have coming close to the season, I think we'll see it beginning next week, because somebody even told me earlier today, they took half hour to get from Starborough to somewhere on New Garden Street, Chief and Narayan Chandra Paul Drive area. Are there any specific plans? For example, people in the past would have suggested closing region streets completely.
Yes.
Let's talk about that.
Yes. Like about 3 weeks ago at council, they looked at the whole idea of closing off specific streets, for example, Regent Street, and to some extent Rob Street, because of the traffic congestion, and also because vending, right? We really can't start vending in the city now because of the whole commerce at this time of the year. And so we have a Saturday meeting coming up on Monday, in which that will be also addressed.
Okay, whether
closing it,
whether
we
they
will
will
directly
go or
close
not.
the streets off.
All right. You did say, if I gather from what you just said, that there will be some easing up a bit on vendors. Then they will be allowed a little freedom. Is it fair to say that? Accurate?
Who would allow?
As in council, in terms of the vendors themselves, there have been complaints that because I remember having a few officials on here before, and they talked about even considering moving vendors from certain areas. Are we going to see a bit of a freeing up on them, or are the measures going to come down strong on them in terms of where you can and cannot vend?
Next year.
Okay.
I know for sure there are areas that would have been identified for vendors to operate. Because you know for sure, vending on the streets of Georgetown, it's against the law, it's against 2801. But because of our social and economic constraints in Georgetown, you know, the council would have allowed vending in Georgetown, but it's not according to the law. It should not happen, it should not occur. And so the municipality right now is looking at areas. And it's not only looking at areas, they may have to put up structures to accommodate vending in the city. They have to put up structures to accommodate vending. And so that is in the near future.
Finally, before I let you go, you said a whole lot. You just talked about, well, I don't know if there's more that you want to say, but you also talked about the putting up of the structures, measures in place of parking and so on. As someone working inside of the council and seeing how things move, whether it's too slow or
It's
too fast, can you give an idea of when you expect great change? I mean, this is apart from the city going green and rehabilitating parks and playgrounds and so on. An idea of when we can see some of these significant changes. For example, the parking facilities and the structures for vending.
Sometime next year.
Sometime
next. We're almost to the close of 2015.
So I can possibly have you
sometime
back on the 11th of December 2016.
Yes,
And
so
we
we
will be
can
talking
go
about
back
those
to see.
changes.
We can reflect then and see some of the changes that would have occurred between December 2015 and December 2016.
Well, I know the public certainly look forward to those changes because we definitely need relief in the city. And this is not only for the city, but viewers, you have to understand, we're stressing the city right now because we're talking to the public relations officer for the mayor and city council, Ms. Debra Lewis. Thank you so much for being here, and I trust that I haven't missed anything that you would want to reveal. You don't think so?
I don't think so. I think you would have touched on every single thing.
Thank you, Debra Lewis. Of course, viewers, this is Facing the Nation. Stay with us on the other side of this very brief break. As I did promise you earlier, Reverend Raphael Massiah is here, and he is the senior pastor for the Assemblies of God Church, and he's here to talk about a number of things. One of the issues we are dealing with is the fact that there's been a breakdown of moral values and ethics and so on in society. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about the role that he believes that the church should play, and also it is an opportune time to have him on too because we're in the season where we should be celebrating the birth of Christ. This is Facing the Nation. Stay tuned. for staying with Facing the Nation. And if you're now joining us, unfortunately, you missed a mouthful. As you know, I keep trying to bring updates to you on what's happening in the city, not only by you just driving around or walking around and seeing it for yourselves, but I'd like you to hear from the officials from the Mayor City Council. So if you're now joining us, you've missed sentiments from the Public Relations Officer at the Mayor City Council. That's Ms. Debra Lewis. Of course, she promised, along with other officials, to be back and update you as we continue to improve the physical aspects of our city. Well, now on to my favorite time of year, which is Christmas. We're also talking about Christmas today, and it is my pleasure to have Reverend Raphael Massiah. He is the Senior Pastor for the Assemblies of God Church, and I welcome him because this is the first time I am having someone in this level. As you know, most times Facing the Nation focuses on politics, but today, of course, we're in Christmas season, and I think that we definitely need to hear from someone in terms of reminding us why we really and truly should be celebrating Christmas. And not only that, he's also going to talk about the church's role in trying to mend what to many of us is really and truly a broken society. Reverend Massiah, thank you very much for being on Facing the Nation.
Thank you for having me.
All right, it is great to have you. Let's talk Christmas. Why, really and truly, why should we be celebrating Christmas? And I'm asking this because, like I did say before, I think we have lost sight of what really and truly Christmas means. What does it mean for you as Guyanese and to Guyana?
Good. Once again, thanks. Christmas to Guyanese is very special. I think Christmas for Guyanese, there are two different views. One, Guyanese view Christmas as truly a cultural experience, and other Guyanese view it as the way it should be viewed, the spiritual aspect. I've spent time around the world, and there's nothing like a Guyanese Christmas at home. Truly, it is quite different, and so we get the opportunity to enjoy both the spiritual emphasis and the cultural emphasis, which is one of the reasons why you have throngs of people right now on Regent Street and Water Street and Main Street, because they're pursuing that cultural aspect, and then they're lining up wherever they live in the diaspora to come home, because there's nothing like being at home for Christmas. But for me, Christmas is a signal from the Creator of a tremendous act of deliverance. In the book of John, chapter 1, we have a description of a promise. And I like John 1:14 in the Message Bible. It says, "And Jesus became flesh and blood." We're talking here about the incarnation, which is Jesus coming, God coming in the form of a human. So you have deity and you have humanity, and which is a picture of what is called theologically the incarnation. He became flesh and blood, and the King James says, and he dwelt among us. But I like the Message Bible translation. It says, and he moved into our neighborhood. So by moving into our neighborhood, yes, right where you live, right where you dwell, Christmas, that's the meaning of Christmas. God becoming one. God with us. God becoming our neighbor in the form of Christ, moving into where we live, whether we live in a high part of the city or what the sociologists might call a low part of the city or depressed part of the city. Christ has the capacity to identify with every strata of society.
Okay. Given that you've said that, and if by some strange way we can all get back to that, which is really and truly the true meaning, do you believe that we can ever get to the point where it stops being so commercialized?
I'm not too sure, because the way how life has become quite modernized. You're living in societies that are pretty modern, and they are pressing forward for more amenities. We find young people in every country. They leave the rural communities and they come to the cities for jobs, for an expression of themselves, either through work, the performing art, the creative art. They're trying to do something because the opportunities they are looking for are not available in the rural areas, so they come to the city. When they come to the cities, you find them being confused by the bright lights and by all these different things that happen in the cities. And Guyana has become, Georgetown has become a modern city. And so you find that when I was growing up, for example, we didn't have the number of folk who sleep on the paves. And that is one of the byproducts of urbanization. We, over the last 2-3 decades, we have been going into suburban areas. So we have the diamonds, and you have those other areas where people are moving, but still, people have to work. The bulk of people, humanity, gather in the city. You should see the confusion across the bridge every morning.
Every morning.
As people crowd that corridor on the east bank, crowd the corridor on the east coast because they're heading towards the city. So believe it or not, this city life is here, and all the consequences will be with us for a long, long time.
Let's talk about how we can get our people to cope and not necessarily lose themselves, even though it has already happened in some cases, not necessarily lose themselves. And of course, this is where we transform, move from the discussion of Christmas into other areas like ethics and morals and so on. The family would have played a great role, especially when it came to celebrating Christmas. We seldom see that now in many households. How do we get back to the point where people don't lose themselves in all the hustle and the bustle, and we, in a sense, try to restore the family? How do we move forward?
Restoring the family has nothing to do with, let me put it this way. Restoring the family has everything to do with the parents. We have to begin there. We can't begin with government. We have to begin with parents when we talk about the family. We have, in Guyana, the more popular brand of the family is the single parent brand. That is producing enormous challenges for us. I just asked a couple of my friends, we were having lunch, and I asked them, there was a tragedy that occurred recently in South Grenville where 2 young men, according to the media, they were pursuing some illegal action and they lost their lives. I asked my colleagues if they heard a father stand up and make a statement. Mothers are thrown into the front. They're the ones who have to answer the media. They're the ones who have to answer the questions. They're the ones who have to explain the behavior of their children. And that is a little snippet of the kinds of dysfunctional families that we have. People are becoming parents without understanding they have a duty and a responsibility to take care of their children. And I find that what is happening, especially in the city and its environs, we have men who obviously, or women who are obviously cohabiting with men, but that's the end of it. And these women are left to fend for themselves and to raise, most of them have no jobs, or the jobs that they might have are low-end jobs. To raise a child or children in that kind of environment, you can already see that the stage is set for major challenges. This is where I believe the church can make a contribution. In going into that environment, and this is not hypothetical, I'm telling you what I know the church does on a daily basis, and actually become fathers to the fatherless, and actually try to put them in an environment where they can learn. But lots of times, by the time we get to them, these young fellas have already been fathered by men who are controlling some institutions. Some of them, they call them gangs. And what a normal father should do. You have someone in society doing that, but not for a good purpose. So you have all of those push and pull factors. It is really a challenge. It is very challenging.
Reverend Massiah, what other role should the church and I'm saying religion too, because of course Guyana is we're a cook-up. I like to call it a cook-up. We don't have just one religion, whatever. What other role can the church play to help bring these young people where they really should be, and not only restoring the family but restoring moral values and ethics, because we've lost those. We are confusing things. What's bad has now become good, and what's good apparently has now become bad, and it confuses society. What other role can the church and religion play?
Well, there must be a multifaceted role, and there must be a coming together of all. When I was growing up, again, you had, in any village or any community, you had very many safety nets. What do I mean by that? You had the scouts. I noticed there's a revival of scouts. You had the scouts, the Girl Guides, the Boy Brigades. You had the YMCA, the YWCA. So if a child was falling foul in his home or her home, they were caught in the net, that safety net, by one of these social organizations. And I wouldn't be bigoted to say only Christians can help. They are other religions who I know are reaching out to their community and helping young people. So what we need is a major approach where we can all come together and provide a safety net that really would give credence to the notion that no child should be left behind. But I want to make it pellucid. The bedrock is the family.
Yeah.
And I mean, if we don't have a family, if the father or the mother fails, that extended family, we would expect that extended family to chip in, an uncle, an aunt, even a godmother to chip in and recognize they have a role to play. That is what we have to repair. And there's no other institution that can be substituted for the family. We really have to get that one going.
It is always said that, and I grew up, and this is even before television and hearing it from other people. I grew up hearing my mom say, a family that prays together stays together. Have we been praying enough as a nation?
Well, it depends. We have lots of prayer meetings going on in the nation. Depends on what we're praying for. Again, the kind of prayer you're describing is the one that is done and should be done in the home, where a leader parent takes the lead and would encourage the children. I can reflect on the fact, strange enough, we were raised by a single mom during Massiah. An unbelievable job. Myself, 3 brothers, a sister, and 2 cousins who always lived with us. And very many other children that mommy would bring home from time to time. In that environment, I remember once she said to us, because a brother brought home a breadfruit, and he was asked, where did you get this from? He told us a story. I remember standing there in the living room when he was explaining where he brought it from, where he got it from. And we knew the village. He was describing a yard. There was no breadfruit tree there. And we said to him, where did you get this from? And he received very many knuckles. I don't know if you know what a knuckle is.
Yes, I do.
And he was told to go and put it back. And he was accompanied by the 2 older brothers. And when he came back, he was trashed again. Now that discipline was meted out at home. We never had any more complaints like that. So the home is the place where those things can be, and that's the first time I heard my mother say, all honest work is honorable. Now, I don't know where she got that philosophical concept from. She was an ordinary domestic, but she taught us that honest work, was honorable. We now have a generation of young people who don't have that kind of relationship with their parents, who don't benefit from dialogue and from correction. We have parents who are too young to give instruction to their children. And they were frustrated in their life, and they're passing that same frustration on to their children. So, in my scheme of things, we have to get the family going again. So whether it be a religious organization or the other safety nets in society, supported by government efforts, the institution we have to put back on the front burner is the family. We have to do lots of work there.
In your work, have you found that you have been able to reach a significant number, or any young person at all, in terms of getting them to a youth who may have gone almost the edge of the falls? Have you been able to reach it? Is it easy for you to reach them and try to get them to turn around, of course with the help of God and the other safety nets that you're talking about?
Well, I'm sure I can point out quite a few, and I mean scores, perhaps hundreds, who have responded, who live at home, who live abroad. And I know that some of my colleagues, they have been doing similar good work. It's not easy, but it's quite possible. And, there are quite a few examples that come to mind. It's not easy. Remember, a young lady came to me, and she's 16, and she said to me, "I'm pregnant." And I said, "Well, okay. Did you tell your mom?" And she said, "If I tell my mom, she would kill me." So I said, "Well, what you doing here?" She said, "Well, I want you to tell my mom." And I said, "Oh, you want her to kill me?" That woman, I encouraged that child and supported her. She brought forth the child. He's still alive. That's the only child she ever got. She asked me, as a grown woman, I think she was now about 35, she asked me, "How did you know that I could raise this child?" Well, I said, "I had no special wisdom. You were just pregnant, and that was the correct thing to do." She had the support network built around her, and that can be done in every case. Family, friends, reaching out, touching. They're human beings. We make mistakes. We can't kick everybody to the curb. Family, friends, the church, irrespective of which religion they're from. We have to reach out and to help those who are suffering, those who seem to have made bad decisions, bad choices. And if they are willing, and if we can persuade them, help them repair their lives.
Reverend Massiah, before I have to begin to wrap up with you, and this conversation is really a good one, and it's enlightening, and it's unique for this program, and I'm really happy and excited about it. It is unfortunate that in our society we have, because of the cultures and how things are shaped, we have, in a sense, allowed politics to even cross some lines and some borders that it shouldn't have. For example, things like we're talking about it, the family, child abuse, child labor, domestic violence, abuse against women, and so on. These things, politics, as far as I'm concerned, politics have really no role to play in these cases. It's you're not supposed to go there. But as head pastor, as a senior pastor in the Assemblies of God Church, are you willing to work along with political organizations to probably find solutions, whether it be the government, whether it be the opposition, regardless? How ready and willing are you?
I'm not only willing, we were already doing that. And there's a sad thing about politics in this country, it's extremely divisive. And I will not contribute any energy to further that cause in terms of promoting division among our people. And so if folk are bent on only moving in that direction, I will not use any of my energy or creativity to encourage that. But of course, I'm willing to work with anyone who's really serious about helping those folks outside there. Really, really serious. People who are serious, we will certainly work along with that. I know that there are folks who are working, doing real serious work among children, and I can give you a list. I was with the police force the other day on the quarantine, Black Bush Bowler, I was struck by the fact that as we were going into school, this meeting was held at school, these little children were passing us, and they were saying, "Good afternoon, good afternoon. Now this is Blackbush, Poland, the quarantine. They have never seen us." But the children were extremely polite. That provided an open door for us to have a conversation, a decent conversation, irrespective of race or politics. And we just used that as a bridge, walked right through, and we had receptivity. The children listened, the parents listened. And I believe Guyanese are decent people right across the entire nation. And they should not seek or should not allow themselves to be marginalized or to be manipulated by anyone or for their purpose. But we should seek to work together to see how we could advance not just the macro goals of promoting Guyana, but making each Guyanese grow. And I'm going to use a term that has now become popular, to ensure that each Guyanese can enjoy the good life.
Yes, it's a very good phrase indeed. Many of us have held on to it. Sometimes I have to tell myself, like, I think you're saying it too often. Before I let you go, finally, sir, in this Christmas season, of course, and this is just to come back to where we began the conversation, in this Christmas season, what message would you like to, and I know they will hear from you via other avenues, but on Facing the Nation, what message would you like to leave with our viewers as we celebrate Christmas 2015?
I would like to leave the message that the poor and the powerless received in the book of Matthew. In the book of Luke chapter 2, there were shepherds who were watching their flocks by night. And they were working the midnight shift, I'd like to suggest. There are lots of poor people who Christmas means a lot to them. Christmas was a very special time in my family when I was growing up, still is. And Mom used to work hard, like many mothers and fathers, to put the best meal on the table Christmas Day. Very special. And these men were working way into the night. And an angel appeared to them and announced that there's great tidings that a Savior was born in Bethlehem. And they were afraid, these shepherds. They were poor people, powerless people. And to have a visit from heaven shocked them. They didn't count themselves worthy to receive a message like that. And as they were receiving this message, the Bible says that the skies just opened and a heavenly choir appeared and they sang. And what I would like to leave with all Guyana is the lyrics of what they sang. Glory to God in the highest. And on earth, and if I can paraphrase, and in Guyana, peace and goodwill to all mankind. Whether you're from regions 1 right down to 10, or you're part of any of the major political parties, glory to God in the highest. And on earth, peace, and in Guyana, peace and goodwill. May we experience not just for Christmas, but as we go towards the 50th, the celebration of our independence, may we experience a national cohesion that could take this nation forward. And we will not increase by inches. We will make a quantum leap into the future. But we need goodwill. And Jesus brought that goodwill when he came. That's my message.
Well said. I don't think we can even top that for the rest of the season. Thank you very much, Pastor Massiah, for being here. Viewers, of course, this is Facing the Nation. I'll take a quick break. By the time I get back, it will be time to wrap up. And of course, if you're now joining me, I have been chatting with Reverend, well, I should give you, I only found out recently that there's another name, Reverend Martland Raphael Massiah. He's the Senior Pastor of the Assemblies of God Church here in Guyana. Stay tuned. This is Facing the Nation. Nation, and well, we're almost at the end of today's program, and it was really and truly refreshing, and I feel so not only humble but blessed to have had Reverend Raphael Massiah here in the studio talking about the importance of Christmas. He talked about restoring the family, the importance of restoring the family. And if you haven't learned anything today, I know that you have learned that one of the ways in which we can solve the many problems that we're having in society currently is by restoring the family. So those of you who are already in your families, try your best to protect it from harm, and just be very, very protective of what is yours. Family is everything. Only earlier I saw someone posting a photo on social media. Of course, I'm always on social media. I saw someone posting a photo talking about the end of year celebrations with the family and so on, and that's the time that everyone gets together. And I remember most of us commented and say, well, that is good, because family really and truly is everything. We, however, live in a society where now we not only describe family as blood relatives, but there may be an aunt, even a friend, a simple friend who may be more like family to you. So you have those family. You must have some sort of family somewhere, whatever shape or form. Protect it, protect them, and of course embrace them. Again, I also want to take this opportunity to thank Debra Lewis. She's the Public Relations Officer of the Mayor and City Council. She was here. She gave you an update on the city. What are some of the things you can possibly expect as we go deeper into the Christmas season? We talked a whole lot about traffic and so on. And on that note, I just want to once again remind you and urge you to be very, very careful on our roadways. Resist the temptation to speed. Do not drink and drive. I'm not going to say resist the temptation to drinking and driving, because that is not a temptation. That is just willful. And it's strange, but I guess in life we like to gamble with our lives sometimes, and we like to take chances. But just don't drink and drive. That is not a chance that you should take. You end up killing yourselves and you end up killing people. And it's really heartrending. I could imagine, I've never experienced this, but I could imagine that it's really heartrending not only to lose a loved one, but then when it happens during the Christmas season, when everybody's preparing for Christmas, instead you end up preparing for a funeral. And especially if you can avoid it, do not speed, do not drink and drive, people. And not, when I say if you can avoid them, I'm not talking about speeding. We all can avoid speeding. If you know you have to get somewhere for a certain time, leave your homes long before that. And even if you're late, it's better for you to be late than to never get there, or to expense yourself with bumper to bumper simple in our case, sometimes minor accidents. So it's the Christmas season. Just take care of yourselves and each other. Ensure that you remember what the true meaning of Christmas is, and keep that in mind. It's not only about the shopping, and I did say to you last week, it's Christmas. It's not an opportunity for you to drink as though you're crazy and just exploit things and splurge and be exorbitant. It is time for you to also be humble and remember and be grateful and be thankful for the good things that you have. Unfortunately, this has brought me to the end of today's program. And again, before I go, let me remind you, have some respect for the people who are cleaning up our city. Stop littering. When people clean, you don't litter. You either help them to clean or you just leave them alone. Just do not mess up our city. It is looking really, really beautiful, and we would like it to stay that way. All right, so this is where I have to say bye-bye from Facing the Nation for now. Thank you very much for joining us. Be good, kindly citizens. Take care of yourselves, take care of each other, and of course, once again, season's greetings to all of you. Join me again next week.